All right, well, welcome back. This is the little makeup video that I promised because things didn't turn out the way that we wanted them to go. And I found the reason. The reason was a difference in between the coding environment that we used all together as a group and what seems to be working just fine when you program the microbit just by yourself. So I will do a very quick walkthrough recapping what we had together, and then I will show you what you should have seen as things would allow when everything was going well. So let me first say this is the regular Bluetooth accelerometer. There. Now, having this general setup here is exactly like we had it in class. However, the main difference is that I went to the general microbit programming website. That's at makecode.microbit.org rather than our integrated classroom website. So that's the only difference. Now, in order to replace the radio with the Bluetooth functionality, I'm first going to click on Advanced. Then I will go down where it says Extensions. I'm going to click on Extensions. Now up here, that is where the Bluetooth services are. So I'm going to click on that. And now I'm getting a pop-up window that says, well, do you want to remove the radio and replace it with Bluetooth? Since this is the purpose of this exercise, we will say yes. So now where it said radio a moment ago, now it says Bluetooth. So this is now our Bluetooth functionality. And as we had it, I'm going to click on it. The first thing that is highlighted here is the accelerometer service. So I'm taking it and I'm placing it on start. And what I will do is I will try to show me that everything went well. So I'm clicking on basic and I'm just going to select an icon that represents that everything has started and we're good to go. So let me just use the little happy face here. Everything is started and ready to go. Now I want to know that we are correctly connected. Oops. It's not forever. Under Bluetooth, again, we already had this. I'm going to pick the Bluetooth connected one. It's going to say check, we're connected, everything is fine. And then in case we're getting disconnected, something is going wrong. And it's going to go with an X. And so these are the main items that we will need in order to run a Bluetooth service in the background. As you can see right here, it still says download. I will quickly say pair my device, connect. Now hopefully this will disappear in a moment. If not, you can always click on download and then wherever that file is located. I'm using a Mac, so it might look a little bit different. I'm taking the file and I'm drag and dropping it over onto my microbit. Yours might look different. All right, so here is the second code that we had. And that is the one that had a smiley face for when things are set up. So we have the Bluetooth UART service. That is the one that we had here in order to write the numbers. what I did, I added a short little pause, and I'm clearing the screen so that the little arrow only appears for a moment and then afterwards disappears again. The rest is the same, right? So we have our on start, all of these. Now, if you feel adventurous, let me say I feel adventurous. I'm taking the accelerometer service that we had in the previous code and I'm throwing it in here as well. So now we have more or less both in one. You can see here, left, right arrow, right? That is our simulator here. So hopefully everything goes like this. I'm downloading this to my microbit, and with the download completed, you should see the smiley face, and as you tilt your microbit to the left or to the right, you should see the individual arrows. So that in and by itself should complete the part that we have on the microbit, right? So we have the accelerometer service sending the XYZ poles on the sensor. Then we have the Bluetooth UART service that allows us to send simple commands between our device and the computer. Now, you can go over to the website that I previously showed you in class. Right, so that website, cnets-io, Blue Web. Now, once you're there, kind of have to go through these steps one by one. So let me click on step 1, and you get a new tab, Bluetooth availability. Then you click on Bluetooth devices, and you can see one of them is my microbit. So I'm just going to say I want to pair it, and then I get some information about the microbit. So this way I know that my computer now can wirelessly talk to the microbit. And I always need to do this as a general first setup. Now let's see what I talked about in terms of the accelerometer and the accelerometer showing its data. So I click again on the previous tab in Chrome, and now I click on step 2, the test accelerometer, which brings up this little scrolling output. Now I say start notifications, and the pop-up will say, well, there is the microbit that has this capability. So I click on the microbit to select it, and then I say pair, and now you get these outputs. You also see there's now the check for the microbit, and if I move it around, I do get my arrows, but I also, as I tilt it back and forward, move it all around, I can see, if I hold it relatively flat, you can see mainly the X and the Y are 0, close to 0. I'm apparently not very stable, and the Z is -1. Now if I tilt it this way, to the right, my Z becomes 0, my Y stays 0, and my X turns into 1. I'm tilting it back. I'm tilting it over here. And I see the same thing happening, except now my X becomes -1 and my Y and my Z are roughly 0. So if you are programming to utilize your microbit as some sort of interface for your computer, you could use this relationship, and you can try to figure out, okay, if my X turns this way at a certain point, I think this is a tilt, and if I turn this way, I think this is a tilt. And that requires a little bit more math and a little bit other sorcery in the back. But let's assume that whatever I quickly put together actually somewhat is usable. So the next step is we can stop here the notifications, and everything now goes back to 0 and fades away. And we can close this tab if you want to. We don't really need it anymore. So that brings me back to the little website here. We can first click on Tron. That's the first one. And again, first I need to connect to the microbit. So I click on Connect. I select the microbit. Then I say Pair. Now the microbit is connected. And now I should be able to hit Start and tilt around with my microbit. This is the version that uses the accelerometer. And remember, you're taking the viewpoint of the pilot of that dot. So if you go left, it goes left. If you go right, boom, game over, I lost. Okay, so this was the version that utilized the accelerometer data that the microbit sent to your computer. Now I say stop here. I say disconnect. I close the tab. And I'm going now to step number 4, Tron 2. This version uses the detection of tilts on the microbit. If the microbit thinks it's tilted to the right, it sends a 2 to the computer, and the computer then makes the turn. And if we are tilting it to the left, and the microbit detects it as a tilt, it will send a 1 to the computer, and the computer turns that fictitious vehicle to the left. The steps overall are the same. I click on Connect. I highlight the microbit in the list, say Pair, and that does it. Now when I hit Start, I now get a similar version of this game with ultimately you can try to see how much of the square game board you can fill with your vehicle before you crash into yourself. But that's the example that I wanted to show you earlier that did not work out. So then you can hit stop and disconnect. And if you feel like it, you can try to see which one works better, Tron or Tron 2, depending on what approach to detecting the different steerings to the left and to the right are utilized. And these again come from our make block code, and that is the Bluetooth accelerometer service just sending its raw data to the computer, and the computer has to do the syncing. Or with the Bluetooth UART service, we explicitly tell the computer if the microbit detects a left or right turn. Right? So the idea is, where does some of the processing takes place? Sometimes it's better to have it on the device, and sometimes it's better to have it on the bigger computer or somewhere else in the cloud in order to make these decisions.